I've consulted on 2 courses. Actually, the contemporary ethnic literature course I'm doing right now, I've done once before. It's a 3,000 level course with roughly 30 students. And I also did an American literature course, about the same size, also 3,000 level, but they were first-year students, which is different from the contemporary ethnic American lit that I'm doing now. I had a few concerns before I started tutoring. I was a little bit concerned about the class size and the time, especially with the amount of writing. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to, for example, meet with all the students, do conferences. And I was a little bit concerned because I didn't know what to expect in terms of the students' varying abilities. I think one of the most useful things about the workshop, which sort of helped me with not knowing what to expect, was when we talked about giving feedback, types of feedback, how to give feedback, what's helpful. That was probably the most useful element of the workshop, simply because it talked about what types of students what types of writing you might encounter, and so knowing how to give different types of feedback for different, for varying abilities was really useful. One of the things I did, our students respond via email each week, a few times a week, to they respond to the text that we're reading, they respond to other students' responses. And one of the things I did was I would often respond to their responses. I also met one-on-one when students had assignments, for example, annotated bibliographies or proposed. Responding to the emails, I would read all the emails on a Tuesday, Thursday, for example. It would probably take me 30-35 minutes to read through all their brief responses, and then I would sort of pick a few to respond. So probably 45 minutes, I would pick a few students to respond to. When there's an assignment due, that takes more time, especially if you're conferencing with students. You're going on to the online writing environment and you're reading the information, you're making comments, and then meeting with a student. So conferencing, I usually have to block off a couple hours each day to read and meet with students. So for an entire week, I would say maybe 2 or 3 hours for 3 or 4 days out of the week. I usually show up on the first day and we do sort of introduction. The students understand that I am the writing consultant. They first and foremost understand that I will not be grading them, which is usually the main concern. And that's very clear initially. And I think because of that, they feel more comfortable. For example, when we have conferences, I probably meet with the students more than Brennan does in terms of sort of a one-on-one setting. And they feel more comfortable asking me questions that they might think are silly, about their writing or work or problems that they're having getting through the writing process. And so I think first and foremost, once they realize that I'm not grading them, then it sort of allows for a better working relationship. It's a part of their requirement, so they have to meet with me. It's worth X amount of points. Once they submit their work online, they have to meet with me to sort of get the feedback and at least before they revise. So it's sort of built into their grade in some ways. I have had instances where I've given feedback to students and they have sort of said, well, I'll have to ask Brennan about this, and I'm completely comfortable with that. I encourage them. I met with some students last week, and I had one woman come in. She's actually in English, an English major. They're working on an annotated bibliography. She had done a number of annotated bibliographies and courses before, but she wasn't quite in her draft. She wasn't quite getting to the critical approach, I guess, as that she needed to get to. And so we sat and sort of talked about how to evaluate a source and how to write that evaluation, how to think about how you would apply that. And she got it right away, and she understood the usefulness of that, you know, how that would be useful to her research. And she immediately sort of went through the other annotations and sort of revised them out loud and told me what she would change and what she would do. And so I sort of felt that was probably one of the most successful sessions I've had. One of the benefits is that the work that comes to you after it has been through a process of revision, a draft, a revision, a meeting with a critique or what have you, with a tutoring session with the WAC consultant, that work will be easier to grade, easier to read, far better than, I would argue, than you would get without a WAC consultant. You know, the type of tutoring that happens, the help that students get with the writing process, you know, is certainly, I would say that would be the most helpful thing for a faculty member. I think writing to learn is sort of a philosophy. I'm teaching right now a rhetoric, first year rhetoric class, and one of the things I do, writing responses. We're always doing writing responses, responding to some statement, some controversial topic, some piece of literature, and so my students are writing every session. They're doing a writing activity to sort of better understand the work, to sort of help them flesh out their ideas about the text, for example. Key benefits, I think the first thing is just working so closely with a faculty member. That's probably the first key benefit I would think about. Brendan and I have worked on projects together even outside of our course, and so that's sort of when you develop this great working relationship with a faculty member, it can open up so many other doors for you. I've had the opportunity to even facilitate a discussion in his class, and so leading a discussion, you know, of a 3,000 level course, for example, that was a great opportunity. And then also just working one-on-one with the students, that gave me the opportunity to really sort of meet the students and sort of really see and experience their various abilities. It really gave me some insight into the student population. So yeah, there are many more benefits, but those are probably the ones that I've most enjoyed.